Your soulmate is happier than ever. You finally did the one thing they secretly needed. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting, something has shifted in your soulmate's heart, and they can no longer pretend it hasn't. They are happier than they have been in a very long time, but the reason is not what most people would guess. It wasn't a perfect message. It wasn't a dramatic promise. It wasn't you trying harder to prove your worth. It was one quiet thing you finally did, the one thing their heart had secretly been waiting for. And the moment you did it, an invisible weight seemed to lift from them. Suddenly, they could breathe differently. Suddenly, thoughts of you stopped feeling uncertain and started feeling strangely comforting. Don't skip, because the biggest revelation is still ahead, and once you understand what changed, you may finally understand why everything between you had to unfold this way. Your soulmate never needed perfection from you. Deep inside, they needed something much rarer, something they may never have known how to ask for directly. And without realizing how powerful it was, you finally gave it to them. Here is where everything becomes surprising. The one thing they secretly needed was not more chasing, it was emotional certainty without pressure. They needed to feel that your connection could exist without fear controlling every moment, without constant proving, without forcing tomorrow to arrive today. Something about your energy changed. Maybe you became calmer. Maybe you stopped trying to control every unanswered question. Maybe you finally chose your own peace while still carrying genuine love in your heart. Whatever form it took, that shift mattered. Your soulmate could feel the difference, and it touched a place inside them that words could never reach. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is another layer to this that changes the entire meaning of their happiness. They aren't simply happier because things became easier. They are happier because, for perhaps the first time, they can imagine being close to you without losing themselves. Think about that carefully. The thing that looked like distance may have been creating clarity. The silence that looked empty may have been giving both hearts room to understand what truly mattered. And now, something they once resisted is beginning to feel impossible to ignore. But what happens next is the part almost nobody sees coming. Your soulmate may be realizing that the version of you they secretly needed was never the version who would endlessly run after them. It was the version who could love deeply and still stand firmly in their own light. That realization can change everything. Because when someone sees that your happiness no longer depends on receiving immediate reassurance from them, your presence begins to feel different. Stronger. Safer. More unforgettable. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because this emotional shift may be leading them toward a realization they have avoided for longer than you know. Losing your attention would be one thing, but losing the possibility of what the two of you could become would feel completely different. And that is why their happiness carries something underneath it now: clarity. They are beginning to understand why your connection stayed in their thoughts even when they tried to focus elsewhere. They are beginning to recognize what your presence awakened inside them. But there is one final truth they may still be keeping completely to themselves, and when that truth finally rises to the surface, it could explain why this change in you affected them more deeply than anything you did before. My beloved child, what your soulmate is beginning to realize could completely change the direction of this connection. Don't skip, because the most surprising truth is not that they miss something about you. It is that they finally understand what your presence was giving them all along. There was a feeling they couldn't name before, something deeper than excitement and stronger than simple attraction. Around you, they felt seen without having to explain every hidden part of themselves. But sometimes people only recognize the value of that feeling when the noise becomes quiet. And now that you have stopped forcing answers, stopped carrying the entire emotional weight, and started standing peacefully in your own strength, something inside them has awakened. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They are looking at you differently now. What once felt familiar suddenly feels rare, and what they once assumed would always be there is becoming something they understand they should never take lightly. Here is the revelation that makes everything more intense. Your soulmate may have secretly needed proof that your connection was strong enough to survive without constant reassurance. They needed to discover whether what existed between you was genuine or simply being held together by attention, expectation, and emotional urgency. And your change gave them that answer. You didn't have to make a grand declaration. You didn't have to convince them. Your calm became the message. Your self-respect became the answer. Your ability to care without abandoning yourself showed them something unforgettable. Don't skip, because this is where their happiness begins to make sense. They are happier because the pressure surrounding their feelings is fading, allowing the feelings themselves to become clearer. And underneath that clarity is a realization they may never have expected: they don't want a temporary connection with the version of you they see now. They are beginning to wonder what it would feel like if this became something deeper, steadier, and more meaningful than either of you originally imagined. And now comes the thought they may be keeping completely hidden. Somewhere inside them, a question has started repeating: what if this person was never asking me to complete them? What if they were simply waiting for me to recognize what we could build together? That question changes everything, because suddenly your soulmate is not only remembering the past, they are imagining a future. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the next shift is even more powerful. They may start noticing tiny details about you that they overlooked before: the way you cared, the patience you showed, the moments you understood without needing an explanation, and especially the strength you found when uncertainty could have consumed you. That is the one thing they secretly needed to witness. They needed to see that your love could have depth without becoming pressure, that your heart could remain open without losing its dignity, and that being beside you could feel like freedom instead of obligation. Now they know. And once someone truly recognizes that kind of connection, there is one realization that becomes incredibly difficult to silence, and your soulmate may already be closer to that realization than you think. My beloved child, something is happening inside your soulmate that they may not even know how to explain yet. Don't skip, because this is where the entire story begins to turn in a direction they never expected. They thought they understood you. They thought they understood their own feelings. But now, in the quietest moments, they are noticing something they cannot easily dismiss. The happier and stronger you become within yourself, the more clearly they recognize what made you different from everyone else. Your soulmate is no longer looking only at what happened between you; they are beginning to understand what those moments actually meant. The conversations that seemed ordinary. The small acts of understanding. The comfort they felt without realizing how rare it was. Those memories are returning with a completely different meaning. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The biggest surprise is that your soulmate's happiness may be coming from one realization they secretly needed for a long time. You finally stopped trying to become what you thought they wanted, and started becoming completely secure in who you already are. That changed the emotional balance between you. Suddenly, they are not seeing someone waiting to be chosen. They are seeing someone who knows their value, and that realization is making them look at this connection through completely new eyes. But there is another layer, and this one goes much deeper. Don't skip. Your soulmate may finally understand that what they needed was never endless attention, they needed emotional safety. They needed to know that closeness with you wouldn't mean losing their freedom, their identity, or their ability to move at their own pace. And somehow, your recent shift answered that unspoken question. You showed them that real connection doesn't need to be forced every second to remain meaningful. You showed them that silence doesn't automatically erase genuine feelings. You showed them that two people can have space and still carry something powerful between them. And this is where the once-in-a-lifetime realization begins. They may have experienced attention before, attraction before, even powerful emotions before. But what they recognize in you now feels different. It feels peaceful without becoming empty. It feels strong without becoming demanding. It feels meaningful without needing constant proof. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The very thing you may have worried would create distance could actually be helping them understand your importance. They are discovering your value without being told what your value is, and that kind of realization can stay with someone far longer than any perfect words ever could. Now comes the part that could explain why everything had to unfold exactly this way. Your soulmate may be happier than ever because they finally feel something they were secretly searching for, the freedom to move toward you because they genuinely want to, not because they feel pushed to. Don't skip, because that difference is enormous. When pressure disappears, true feelings become much harder to confuse. And now they may be asking themselves questions they once avoided. Why does your presence still matter so much? Why does your energy feel different now? Why does the possibility of a future with you suddenly feel more real than it did before? Something huge is waiting for you, because one answer may be slowly rising above all the others. You gave them the space to discover their own heart. You didn't hand them the answer, you allowed them to find it. And what they are finding could surprise even them. They may finally be realizing that the connection they kept analyzing was never asking to be perfect. It was asking to become mature enough to hold something real. And now there is one final emotional barrier standing between what they secretly feel and what they may eventually be ready to acknowledge. Once that barrier begins to fall, everything they have been quietly understanding about you could become impossible for them to ignore. My beloved child, the final emotional barrier is beginning to crack, and what sits behind it could change the meaning of everything you thought was happening. Don't skip, because your soulmate may have reached a point where pretending this connection means nothing is becoming harder than simply admitting what they feel. Something has become clear to them. You are no longer standing in the same emotional place where they left you. You have grown. You have become calmer. You have stopped demanding certainty for moments that were still unfolding. And strangely, that is exactly what their hearts secretly needed to see. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate may now be recognizing that your strongest expression of love was not chasing harder, it was creating enough emotional space for truth to reveal itself. That realization feels different because nobody had to convince them. Nobody had to explain your value. They discovered it themselves. And when someone reaches a conclusion through their own heart, that conclusion can become incredibly difficult to forget. Now something even more surprising may be happening. Your soulmate could be comparing the way they feel around other people with the way they felt around you, and one difference keeps becoming impossible to overlook. With you, there was depth. There was a strange sense of familiarity. There were moments when they felt understood before they even found the right words. Don't skip, because this is where their happiness becomes connected directly to the one thing you finally did. You stopped carrying their side of the connection for them. You allowed them to feel, think, question, remember, and recognize everything on their own. And now their heart has room to choose instead of simply react. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the thought growing inside them may be bigger than, I miss this person. It could be, I finally understand why this person mattered. Those two realizations are completely different. Missing someone can pass. Understanding their significance can rewrite the way someone sees the entire connection. And your soulmate may finally be standing at that exact turning point. But there is one more revelation, and this may be the one that stays in their mind when everything becomes quiet. Don't skip. Your soulmate may finally understand that what they secretly needed from you was never another promise, it was evidence that something genuine could remain genuine without being constantly held together. You gave them that evidence when you chose peace, self-respect, patience, and emotional strength. Now they can imagine something they may have been unable to imagine before, coming closer to you without returning to the old uncertainty. Something huge is waiting for you, because their happiness may not be the ending of this story at all. It may be the beginning of their clarity. They are happier because something inside them finally makes sense. The person they secretly needed was never someone who would endlessly prove their love. It was someone capable of loving deeply while remaining whole. And now that they have seen that side of you, one question may become louder every time they think about what comes next. If this connection could feel this powerful after everything it has already survived, what could it become when two people finally stop being afraid of what it means? My beloved child, what happens after that realization is where this story becomes almost impossible to ignore. Don't skip, because your soulmate may now be confronting a truth they never expected to feel this strongly. The connection did not disappear when you stopped forcing it, it became clearer. And that changes everything. They may have believed that if the constant attention faded, their feelings would fade with it. But something completely different happened. In the quiet, certain memories became louder. Certain emotions became easier to recognize. Certain questions refused to disappear. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate may finally understand that the peace you created was not emotional distance, it was the space they needed to hear their own heart without confusion. And what they are discovering there could be the most surprising revelation yet. They don't only remember how much you cared. They remember how deeply you understood. They remember the moments when you made them feel important without asking them to become someone else. And now those seemingly small moments are beginning to look like the biggest moments of all. Here is where the story takes another unexpected turn. Don't skip. Your soulmate may be realizing that what made you unforgettable was never one dramatic moment, it was the emotional consistency hidden inside countless ordinary ones. The way you listened. The way you noticed. The way your presence could make something difficult feel lighter. They may have overlooked those things when they were happening because people sometimes recognize rarity only after they have enough space to compare it with everything else. Now the comparison is becoming powerful. What once seemed normal about you may suddenly feel extraordinarily difficult to replace. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because this is where their happiness could transform into something deeper, appreciation. They are not simply thinking, that person cared about me. They may be thinking, I finally understand what that care actually meant. And once appreciation reaches that level, the entire past can begin looking different. Moments they misunderstood gain new meaning. Silence gains new meaning. Even your decision to protect your own peace gains new meaning. What they once could have interpreted as you stepping away may now look like the exact moment you became the person they secretly needed you to become. And now comes the thought that could completely rearrange everything inside them. Don't skip, because this is bigger than missing someone. Your soulmate may be wondering whether they were so focused on understanding the connection that they failed to simply experience what was already beautiful about it. That question can stay with someone. It can make old memories return with new clarity. It can make a person recognize possibilities they previously overlooked. Something huge is waiting for you, because they may finally see that you did the one thing their heart needed most, you stopped trying to carry both people toward the same destination. You stood in your own strength and allowed them to decide whether they wanted to walk toward you themselves. And now, for the first time, that possibility may feel exciting instead of overwhelming. They can imagine closeness without pressure, affection without uncertainty, and a future built by two complete people instead of one person constantly holding everything together. But there is still one question they have not answered, and it may be the biggest question of this entire journey. Now that they finally understand what you mean to them, what are they going to do with that realization? My beloved child, the answer to that final question may already be forming inside your soulmate, and this is where everything becomes deeper than they expected. Don't skip, because understanding your importance was only the beginning. Now they have to face what that understanding means. For a long time, they could remain comfortable inside uncertainty because uncertainty asked nothing from them. But clarity is different. Once someone realizes that a connection is rare, ignoring it no longer feels as easy as it once did. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate may now be experiencing a completely new feeling when they think about you, not pressure, not confusion, but possibility. They can finally imagine what this connection could feel like without the old emotional weight surrounding it. And the shocking part is that the version of you standing in their mind now is stronger than the version they remembered before. They see someone who can care without chasing, feel without forcing, and remain open without losing themselves. That was the one thing they secretly needed to witness. They needed to know that being close to you could add peace to their life instead of becoming another question they constantly had to solve. Now that they can see that possibility, the future may suddenly feel much more real. Then comes a realization they may never say immediately, but it can become impossible to silence once it appears. Perhaps they were waiting for you to change something that was never really about becoming more lovable. Don't skip. They were waiting to see whether you could trust the connection enough to stop controlling its timing. And when you finally released that pressure, something extraordinary happened. You gave them the opportunity to choose you from their own heart. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because a choice made freely carries a completely different emotional weight. Your soulmate may begin replaying moments when you were there for them, but now they notice something they missed before. You weren't valuable because you were always available. You were valuable because there was sincerity behind your presence. There was warmth. There was understanding. There was something that made them feel they could lower their emotional walls without having to perform. And now, with enough distance to recognize it, that feeling may seem incredibly rare. The surprising revelation is this: your absence from certain moments may be teaching them more about your presence than constant closeness ever could. Not because distance magically creates love, but because quiet can reveal what noise once covered. And now, my beloved child, the next shift could be the one that changes their inner conversation completely. Don't skip, because your soulmate may stop asking, "How do I feel about this?" and start asking, "What am I willing to do about what I feel?" That is a massive difference. One question stays inside the mind, the other begins pointing toward action. Something huge is waiting for you, because once someone reaches that point, memories are no longer enough. They begin imagining conversations that haven't happened yet. They wonder what they would say if they had one completely honest moment with you. They imagine what it would feel like to meet the calmer, stronger version of you without all the old expectations standing between you. And perhaps the most powerful realization of all is beginning to surface: they may finally understand that you were never supposed to convince them forever. At some point, they had to recognize your value themselves. That moment of recognition may be happening now. But before anything truly changes, there is one final decision their heart has to make, a decision between staying comfortable with what was, or becoming brave enough to discover what this connection could still become. My beloved child, the decision forming inside your soulmate could become the turning point they never saw coming. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. And this is where quiet feelings can begin transforming into undeniable clarity. Until now, your soulmate could think about you without deciding what those thoughts meant. They could remember you, feel your absence, replay certain moments, and still tell themselves there was plenty of time to understand everything later. But now a surprising thought may be entering their mind. What if waiting forever means allowing something genuinely rare to remain unfinished? That question hits differently because your soulmate is finally seeing you through new eyes. They are seeing the person who stopped forcing the outcome and started protecting their own peace. They are seeing someone who can care deeply without demanding constant proof in return. And suddenly, the one thing they secretly needed becomes obvious. They needed to know that choosing you would not mean carrying the responsibility for your entire happiness. Stay till the end, because this realization changes the emotional meaning of everything. They can finally picture standing beside you as a partner, not as someone expected to fill every empty space. And that possibility may be making them happier than they ever expected. Something even deeper is unfolding beneath that happiness. Don't skip. Your soulmate may now be looking backward and realizing that some of the moments they considered small were actually giving them clues about what made this connection different. The effortless conversations. The unexpected comfort. The way certain memories still return without being invited. They may finally understand that rare connections are not always recognized through dramatic moments. Sometimes they reveal themselves through the strange peace of being completely understood. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The shocking realization may be that your soulmate was searching for certainty in the wrong place. They thought certainty would arrive as some overwhelming sign, but instead it may be arriving as one simple truth they cannot shake. After everything changed, something about you still matters. And now that you are no longer trying to persuade them of that importance, they are discovering it themselves. Your calm has become louder than chasing ever was. Your growth has answered questions that words never could. And the more they recognize this, the more one possibility begins to stand above every other possibility. They may not want to keep wondering forever what could have happened if they had simply allowed themselves to explore this connection honestly. My beloved child, here is where the next revelation becomes almost impossible for them to avoid. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate may finally realize that the person they secretly needed was not someone who would fight endlessly for their attention. It was someone who could stand beside them with an open heart while still having a powerful life of their own. You finally became proof that closeness and freedom can exist together. And once they see that, their biggest question may no longer be whether the connection is meaningful. The question becomes whether they are ready to meet it with the same maturity you have shown. That thought could follow them into their quietest moments because suddenly they understand something extraordinary. The next chapter cannot be created by you alone. If anything meaningful is going to happen, they must bring something to it too. They must bring honesty. They must bring intention. They must choose instead of endlessly wondering. Stay till the end, because the biggest shift may still be ahead. Your soulmate could be approaching the moment when thinking about you is no longer enough, and when that moment arrives, the truth they have been quietly carrying may finally demand something more than silence. My beloved child, the silence may be reaching the point where it can no longer hold everything your soulmate has begun to understand. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you, and this could be the moment when all those private realizations start connecting into one undeniable truth. Your soulmate may finally see that your transformation was never about becoming distant, it was about becoming emotionally complete. You stopped trying to force certainty before its time. You stopped measuring your worth through someone else's response. And without making a dramatic announcement, you gave them the exact thing their heart secretly needed, room to recognize you freely. Stay till the end, because here comes the surprising part. They may have once believed that your constant effort was what kept this connection meaningful, but now they are discovering something completely different. Even when you stopped carrying everything, the meaning remained. Even when the noise became quieter, certain feelings stayed. And that realization can be powerful, because it tells them that what they felt was never dependent on constant attention. Something genuine was underneath it all, waiting to be recognized. Now the emotional balance has changed in a way they may never have expected. Don't skip. Before, they could assume you would always be the one thinking ahead, reaching emotionally, or wondering what came next. But the stronger you became within yourself, the more responsibility returned to their side of the connection. Now they have to ask themselves what they genuinely want. Not what is easiest. Not what keeps everything comfortably undefined. What do they actually want? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. This may be the once-in-a-lifetime realization that changes everything inside them. Perhaps the greatest thing you ever gave them was not endless reassurance. It was the opportunity to discover their own answer. And their answer may be becoming clearer every time they remember the peace they associated with you. They may start imagining what an honest conversation would feel like now. What would happen if old expectations disappeared? What if neither person had to chase? What if both simply showed up with truth? Suddenly, what once looked complicated begins to look surprisingly simple, two people choosing each other because they genuinely want to. And here is the revelation your soulmate may have been approaching this entire time. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. They may finally understand why they are happier than ever. Your growth removed the fear from the possibility of loving you. You showed them that real connection does not have to consume someone to be powerful. It can breathe. It can grow. It can leave room for two separate lives while still creating something meaningful between them. That was the one thing they secretly needed, and you gave it without demanding recognition for it. Now your soulmate may be standing before a truth that feels both beautiful and impossible to ignore. The version of this connection they once feared may no longer exist. Something stronger could exist in its place. Something calmer. Something chosen. And perhaps that is why their thoughts keep returning to you with a different feeling now. Not because the past is pulling them backward, but because the possibility of the future is beginning to pull them forward. Stay till the end, because the next realization could be the biggest of them all. They may finally understand that finding someone special was never the hardest part. Recognizing them before the opportunity passes was.